Hello everyone, this is Johannes.
And this is Stonemeier.
And you are watching Board Gaming Ramblings.
And today we are taking a look at the Expedition expansion.
It's this one, it's a small little box called Gears of Corruption. Doodly-doo-doo-doo.
It now plays up to 6 players instead of 5.
Yes, but it sounds like that was going to be like the whole
Yeah.
expansion. We're going to take a look at this expansion. This was sent to us from the publisher, so you know that before we go into the whole shebang. We're going to talk about this. This is not going to be a... This is going to be like, we're going to talk about differences. We're going to talk about what is new, what is changed, and we are going to tell you if we think this is something that you need to buy in or new. Three tired expansion rating that I made up in another video, and it is must have. It changes the game and you need it because it's amazing, or should get if you like the game and it's like more of the same.
Yeah.
It's like more stuff, doesn't change the game too much, but if you like the game, you're gonna get it. And the next one is not needed.
Yeah.
Which is like this. Why is this here?
Yeah.
Those are the 3 tiers of expansions. That's how we're gonna rate it in this video. But now, let's talk about Expeditions expansion Gears of Corruption. It sounds like very... First of all, we enjoyed Expeditions.
Yes, we did.
I gave it an 8 when we did a review.
I gave it a 7.5.
After playing it again, I might have given it a little bit lower. Like we only got to play it with 2 now with the expansion, and I think it would be better with more.
Yes.
But then I think the game is good. I think it's probably, I would rate it like a 7.5, I think, or a 7.
I'm standing by my 7.5 still.
So you know that before we go into the rest of the stuff, we're going to start off by talking about what is basically changes to the game that was there. And then we're going to talk about what is new and what we feel about that.
Yeah.
There is 2 replacements.
Yes. 2 cards.
1 card.
1 card. And 1 location tile has been replaced. So that's a minor change that we wouldn't react on if it wasn't like... We haven't played it a gazillion times.
And I think the tile was basically a misprint.
Oh, okay, cool.
But the next thing is a bigger thing. We just want to note this. Next thing is a bigger thing and a better thing.
Yes, I really love the double layer player boards.
Boom.
Both for the new mechs, which there are 2 of,
Boom.
and of the old mechs. And I really like double layer player boards in general. But in this game, I really sometimes could be a little... uncareful. What is that?
Yeah, say that.
That's the opposite of careful.
Not careful.
Yeah, placing on these action spaces, and it's really important that you know where you were when you began the round.
Or you can cheat.
Or you can cheat, that also, but this makes it easier not to cheat.
And harder to cheat.
Harder to cheat.
Yes. Easier not to cheat.
And this also are now 2 tracks for the resources instead of 1, which it was before.
I think that's better as well, because when you had those 2 and had to put on top of each other, and it's hard to like, oh, you bump one down, how many did I have? So this is just better. And I like that they included it. And I want to say as well that this is a great size.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, we don't usually do this, but we know the price of this. So we're going to talk about that as
later.
well. There is no, as I said, like there's a 6-player components. For the people who want that.
Yeah.
It's not us.
No.
I don't want the 5-player components. I don't think I want the 4-player components. I think 3-player components would be enough. But I enjoy like some people gonna ask like, who wants 6 players? The people who do.
Yes.
That's basically it.
Good for them.
Yes, because some people wanted to play it with 6 players, so now it's here. We're gonna have 2 new mechs. It's the Scarecrow and the Mole. They are player boards, player abilities. I'm going to tell you the ability.
Yeah, cool.
Because we played with this, it would be very bad. We played the expansion a few times, never used this, because why? No, the Scarecrow is when you do a refresh action, you can discard a map token to do an action. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I played with that one. It felt like breaking the rules because a little bit of this puzzle is trying to not refresh as many times as you like. Refresh the lowest amount of time because you lose an action that way, kind of.
Yeah.
But at the same time, refreshing is really good to get your cards back and stuff. So I thought that gave you more freedom into having less workers and less cards because you could refresh the more than otherwise.
Yes, and also I said like you only lose 1 action because you get to use 3. So if you had the map tokens, you will lose 0 actions by refreshing. That's pretty cool. I like this one. And the Mole has, when you do a gather action, you can also then discard a map token to then do the action that is underneath the locked action underneath the corruption tiles, which is also pretty cool. I enjoy this. Like I play this while also doing a heavy corruption strategy, which was kind of then weird because I didn't get to use it that much. But you could then very early get some bonuses, abilities that is harder for other people to get.
Yeah,
because you're going to get a few of these, especially with the expansion. We're going to come to that. But you're going to get a few of these when you play.
I feel like this is a really good ability when, for example, playing with 5 or 6 players, like the higher player counts, because you have to unlock these boasting actions to actually do them. And if there's a lot of people wanting to boast to get these points, that action is going to be so popular that's going to be hard to get to. So this gives you more freedom to go to these places where it's not unlocked yet.
But also in a lower player count, it can help you like to check an item guard very early.
That's true.
Or
That's really good.
a mended meteor, so you get that bonus early. But
Yes.
especially for the item cards, I think it's the best. So that is pretty cool. And then we're going to have 4 new pairs of characters and companions. We haven't played with all of them. I played with like the most weird one. There's 3 that is kind of like feels like more of the same from the other
Yes.
game. And then you had like this super weird corrupted person, which is pretty weird because you don't kind of have a vanquish action and you don't have a quest action.
Yeah.
So you don't have the 2 actions, which is like the normal to have on those 2 cards. Instead, you have like you just get a corruption tile, and you can just solve a quest without actually solving it. You just tuck it. So that game was kind of weird because you needed other cards to do actual vanquish actions. But that was cool, like to have a very different one. And the ones you played with was kind of like felt more normal, right?
Yeah, it felt like a variety of the things that we've already seen. I think like it adds more variability.
Yeah.
And a small change as well is that there are 5 new cards to the deck.
Yeah.
But you
So small.
yeah, that's just a minor change.
It's in that category where there's so few. I'm like, why?
But they're more corruption oriented. Was
Okay.
and that is kind of the theme of the expansion.
The expansion. There's also one other thing where you add 6 more a 2 number, like number 2 corruption tokens, to make it a bit more so that there might be more tiles on it's. But like it's very there's like taking the probability a bit higher so that you will have more tiles on each tile. There's a couple of things to make the game go quicker, and that is you're going to start with some resources depending on the mech you're playing with. So you're going to get a mech card. You can also draft them. There's a variant for that. That's going to show you which resources you start with. And also, there's this little man.
That is the hero worker.
He's golden.
Yeah.
What does this person do?
It is a worker of the color of your choice. So it's a joker, basically.
Or you can call it a wild worker.
Wild worker. Well, I like that change because it makes the start of the game less, I want to say, scripted.
Yeah.
Because to get your game started, you really need to get workers to activate your cards. In this way, especially when you're playing with a higher player count, you are going to get to do other stuff than just wait for people to move from the places where you can get workers. So I like that change.
There's also new map tokens that are bigger, like this.
Better, stronger,
Faster. Talk about them.
Yes, they are bigger. That's it. No, they have a bonus on the other side. You don't know what you're getting when you're exploring a new area. I thought like exploring is pretty good from before, but now it's more fun.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. So I like that change. I always like these getting bonuses, and they are random. But I was never in a position where what I got was bad.
I was one time.
One time
When I was supposed to get a specific type of card, and it just didn't exist on the board.
Yes, that's true.
The thing is, like, some players, like we usually explore because we enjoy that part of the game, but sometimes you might get in a position with, especially fewer players, where you have open like half of the board and you don't really need to open the rest because you're getting what you need. So this can be like an incentive to actually go for exploring more stuff. And I like that.
Yeah.
There's one more big thing, which can be used in all player accounts, and that is the Corrupted Mech module.
Yeah, this is optional, and I like that. So it's not like a part that you have to include when you're including the rest of the expansion. But this is basically a mech that isn't a player, but it has cars that moves it on the map between the players' turns. So and it also has like health in a weird way. So you can spend resources and vanquish action to try and damage and potentially kill the corrupted mech.
It's pretty cool because when it's not on a game in the beginning, then when somebody do the first boast action and place the star, it's going to come into play, and it's going to be taking a turn before the player who did the boasting action for the rest of the game. So you're just going to choose a mech that isn't in the game and place it wherever that person wants to, and it's going to get 5 of those mech cards turned face up. Whenever it's that mech's turn, it's going to flip a card, and it's going to tell it which direction or directions it's going to move. If it moves to an unexplored one, it's going to explore it and discard a map, so it's also going to help open up the map, especially when playing with fewer players. If it's an empty space, it's going to move there, but if it's a full space, somebody is there, they're going to not move there, and they're going to kind of attack that person that's going to lose something depending on the card that's there. So it's kind of risky. It makes it kind of risky to be around it. So you kind of, oh, do I really need to go there? Because then there's going to be this corrupted mech there. Yeah. But also, if I am close to it, I can then vanquish it, as you said. And some of those cards are going to be pretty easy. So if you end up in now I could do like 5 of those cards in a round and get 10 points because they work like a corruption token, that is pretty cool. So it's like, it's going to be, I think some people are going to love it, some people are not going to like it. So it's very simple to play with or without.
Yes.
We've been through the whole thing. That's the changes. That's the thing.
Yes.
We're going to talk about the price point.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about like, okay, what do we think this is worth? Like the thing. And it's hard. We know like, because it's hard because in Norway, things are always going to be more expensive than most of you watching will think it's worth, because it's horrible, the board game prices here. But we checked out the price for the expansion box on the Stonemeier website, and it's $25.
Yeah, I guessed actually that it will cost more. So I'm positively surprised by that. And I think that's a fair price for the components included. Yeah. Because you have a good, quality of both the mechs that are included and also the double layer player boards.
And you can buy the ironclad, which is the metal one, as well if you want to. That is going to be more expensive. I didn't remember exactly the price. So if you have like the ironclad version of the base game, you're probably going to get the ironclad, because it's going to be boring to have these in plastic if you have the other ones in metal. So who do you think this is for? I'm going to do this because this is an expansion review. We don't do many expansion reviews, but so I'm making this up as we go. And so this is going to be who is it for and what is your ranking. So it's basically like because who is it for is kind of the same answer as the where do you think it lands on the ranking.
True. Yeah.
So who is it for and your final thoughts, basically. But before that, if you watch this video and you enjoyed it and you think that these two people, they're pleasant, you can help us very much, and it means more than you probably think, by giving us a victory point.
And we get victory points when you click that subscribe button. You can also click the bell to get notifications every time we post a new video.
And now, who is it for? And what is your rating and final thoughts for this expansion, Expeditions, Gears of Corruption?
So I can just go off the bat and say it's not an essential expansion for me in any way. The first category you mentioned in the beginning, must have essential. It's not that. It doesn't fix the game in any way. Even though I think kind of that you really need those double layer player boards. I really like those. But I think it's a mix between it's not needed, because I think the game is super solid as it is. But if you play, and now we're into who is it for? If you play this a lot, if you love Expeditions and you want more variability, better quality on the player boards because you like to have it organized, or if you want to play with 6 players, that makes sense also. This is a kind of the middle category for me. It's a good expansion. It adds mostly more of the same. The corrupted mech module, you have to take it or leave it. I wasn't blown away with that. That's not my motivation to play with this expansion, but I enjoyed everything in it.
Yeah, I think that like who is it for in an expansion review is basically people who like the game and wants more of the game. But that's why we do this review, so you know that if it's a horrible expansion, you don't really read it. This is not a horrible expansion. This for me, depending on you, like for me, it's in the middle category of it's more of the same. It's more new stuff. It's more like adding to what is already there and doing it. For some, it might be an essential expansion because of a couple of things. Mostly because of the hero workers and the starting resources. Because that is going to, as you said, for some people, the beginning of getting the workers, because the cards are horrible without the workers, so not being able to get a worker in the beginning is gonna be harder than getting that worker in the beginning. So now starting with that is gonna change the game. Not drastically, but it is gonna change the game. So that means that if that is something you felt in Expeditions, like you still have the game, I'm not saying go out and buy it again to buy the expansion, but if you still have the game, you're like, oh, I liked it, but that kind of thing, and it was kind of hard in the beginning getting those resources, getting started, this expansion is going to fix that. So it kind of fixes something that isn't like a huge thing that needed to be fixed, but for some people, it's going to be a bigger thing. So for me, it's in the middle, and I'm going to say, like, if it sounds like it's going to be at the top, it's going to be for you, and I think that's going to be the end.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm Johannes.
I'm Stonemeier.
And you've been watching Board Gaming Ramblings, and bye-bye.